but here I am. I have a baby. I'm not married, living with someone who also has a child with someone else and trying to do custody. It was just a clusterfuck at the time. So you just kind of go, okay. And he even said, well, I can tell you what Goodwill I took it to if you want to go buy it back. It was just,
Stop.
Oh gosh. So I had warning signs from the very beginning.
Hi, I am your host, Lyanette Talley, and you are listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is for all day, every day. Virago 24/7 is a weekly podcast that brings diverse women together to talk about life and our experiences in this world. We share our views on self-love, mental health, marriage, children, friendships, and really anything that needs to be talked about. Here, you will find everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors. Just give me my space to move, 'cause it's my thoughts, what I want, and I want what I want.
Talk about parenting. I was fortunate enough to have my mom at that time, and I guess what she knew as parenting, as a single parent and not having my dad in the picture, she would show up and just say, oh, but he's such a good dad. And he's so nice, because he is. I mean, I wouldn't have been with him if he wasn't alluring or charming or witty or kind. He has all of those elements. And those were the only ones my mom got to see. So she would root for him when I would tell her things like this. Or she'd say, well, you don't want to do it alone. Trust me. It's so much harder on your own. So she would kind of keep my blinders on, I don't want to do that with my kids. I want my kids to be able to recognize that is a red flag, and I need to decide if I'm going to accept that red flag or if I'm going to lower it and move along.
Absolutely.
Because it's a choice.
What would your mom, like, if you can go back to those conversations, what do you wish your mom would have said? And if she said something different than what she said, would you have listened to that?
That's a really good question. I've always wanted her to say, I hear you. I understand you. Tell me more. What solutions do you have? What thoughts do you have?
Validate.
Rather than coming in and giving an opinion.
This is the best you're going to get. So it's better than what I had. So be happy.
That was a really good question, because
it's an excellent question.
Because right now you're making me want to do better for my own kids, because what do? We don't
want to solve their problems.
But you do that. You come in and you say, here's what I would do if I were you, or here's what you should do, or I don't want to hear anymore. I know what you're going, that nature.
That's minimizing.
It's like, I had it so much worse. Your life is so
comparing.
much better. Yeah.
So I guess it's going back to the whole 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's time. Those are the times that you wish they didn't talk and they asked more questions if
Listening.
they did. If they were talking, I think that's the best thing. You just keep asking questions until they answer it themselves, I guess. Let them get to the answer.
Yes.
And encourage.
Yes. Help you come to your own peace, your own. Yeah.
Well, I struggle with, because when I do go to people with things about, you guys have heard some of the bad stories that I'm not willing to share.
Yeah.
And probably won't ever share, because some things do need to remain private, but you all know some of them. Mm-hmm. And when they would get, when things would get really bad, my problem is I feel like when I go to trusted loved ones, I don't get the support that I need. So it leaves me dealing with things on my own, right? Handling everything on your own, because you just know you're not going to get the support that you need. So then when you become vulnerable enough, or not just vulnerable enough, I guess, people call it at your wit's end, or hanging by a thread, or about to break. I continued to reach out to some family members. And one in particular, was one of his family members, and said, help, like the SOS, this is what's happening. And same type of support I got from his family as well was, well, you need to, or you should have, or maybe if you didn't do that, this wouldn't be the outcome. Mm-hmm. So I stick with professionals now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that I've reached out to my team, I guess, my circle that you count on, and they let me down repeatedly. And so
like you want someone to swoop in and how do you see support looking like?
So when I reached out to this particular family member, it's kind of her specialty, right? To help other women. And what I would have liked was something that's not possible. I would have liked her to be a family member to me as well, where you're supported regardless, or tell me more, or
you wanted unconditional love.
I wanted unconditional love. That
Absolutely.
look, I still love this person,
regardless what you say, without judgment and no opinion.
Right. Well,
I agree.
Or even supportive. Maybe versus you changing, maybe that person should control their behavior more. You know what I'm saying?
That would be supportive, but for I have to say though, what you're saying, your vulnerability, I feel, is very attractive because a lot of people can't be vulnerable.
Yeah,
because they're afraid, and the fact that you are, it's very attractive to me. Because we all suffer in many ways, big and small. And I had to learn, because just like you, I had to learn to be supportive because I wasn't getting the support you're getting. And I think that's why I find this podcast so wonderful and such a value to our community, because we're talking about real things. And I think if people think about these things, friends like you, when you reach out to family members, friends in need, you're not looking for their opinion, actually. Because you know what? Truthfully, an opinion is the lowest form of knowledge. It's an opinion. The highest form is empathy. And that's what you need. So I have learned that I'm a very talkative person, but when someone is talking about something very deep, I am quiet. I want them to know that I am listening. And then some of my friends get mad at me. Why didn't you tell me your opinion about what to do about this or that? And I said, I wanted you to ask me.
Exactly.
If you want my opinion on what to do, I will give it to you. But I wait because I hear plenty of opinions. I'm sure we all do. I feel like the second you make, the second you come out into this world, everyone is telling you what to do, right? Your parents, your family members, then you grow up and who to marry, what to do, what to say. I mean, there's always going to be somebody who thinks that they know how you should live your life better than you, right? So you're constantly having to weed out
opinions.
But
then later on in life, you seek them out.
Right.
And a client of mine and I did a little experiment on opinions.
Okay.
Because I did hair for how many years? And everybody would come in and they'd say, I need your opinion. I need your opinion. And I was, an unpaid, unskilled therapist for many years, along with doing hair. Some success stories, some probably not so much. But this one particular client that I respected her opinion, and she became a very good dear friend of mine, would come in and I would say, I need your opinion. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you asked me, because a friend of mine and I started last week, you're not allowed to give your opinion unless it's asked for. And you're the first person who's asked me in almost a week.
I love that.
So I said, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to ask people's opinion. And the same thing, I don't think I was asked for maybe 9 or 10 days. And another good friend of mine called me and said, Jenna, I need your opinion. Please call me back. And I thought, oh my God, quick. Yes.
I got to give it.
I get to say what I feel.
It's so interesting how opinionated women have, I wish I could say everything that's on my mind, but I'm learning just to shh.
No, you're learning how to do it without judgment. Because one of the beauties of your podcast, and a lot of people have said this about you, you're talking about very hurtful subjects. You're talking about very heavy things that people could get triggered by. But you have this beautiful skill set of doing it without judgment. This is just, all of our situations that are personal, but we're not saying this is what you need to do.
Exactly.
You even said what we should do. And then you said, and you stopped yourself and you said, well, this is what I feel.
Yeah.
So just because we're saying all these things doesn't mean you need to be like me. Please don't be like me.
Oh, absolutely.
I like other people.
Absolutely.
I mean,
this is,
you can be like empathy, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I want grace given to me just as much as I'm going to give it to you as well.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I want listeners to know that I am a flawed person. So please don't, this is not the Bible. you know?
And we all are. And I think when we're speaking our truths on the podcast, we feel like we try not to name names, I've noticed with people, and we try not to call anybody out because we're not really trying to call people out in our lives. We just want growth. And if those people happen to have given us lessons along the way, then that's what it is. We're not trying to throw anybody under any buses.
No, we
Or
are the true.
we're not trying to, we're not trying to back it up and run them over. It's just this
Or
is
ruin someone's reputation.
not at all.
Oh,
No one can do that but yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
If my reputation's ruined, I
because
did
I did it
myself.
Exactly.
And that's what we're about.
And if someone's talking shit about you and they truly know who you are, I would be like, that's not the Shiney I know. They're just talking shit because they're shit talkers, So no one's going to ruin your reputation just by even saying things about you. If someone truly knows you and they know who you are, then how am I ruin your reputation?
I told you what I'm going to say. If those people, I'll just say, wait for next season.
Oh,
Season 2.
season 2.
Yeah. If people are that concerned about my life, they can wait for next
Well, no,
season.
I love what Jenna says. You always say, give me some better material. What do you say?
If you want me to talk nicer about you, you can start giving me better material.
There you
right
go.
now.
Yeah. That's like my favorite thing that you say.
I used
'cause
to
it's so
say,
true.
if you want me to talk nicer about you, you can give me, or you should have given me better material.
Yeah.
Now it's not about the should haves because my past is that.
Past, exactly.
So I have shifted it now, and you can start today. Like, if you want me to be kinder, you want me to say things that put you in a decent light that you feel you should be held in, come and tell me what you did to get into that light, and I will gladly give it to you. But I am no longer putting people in lights that don't deserve the freaking resources to even power it up.
Yeah.
I'm just done. I'm not. It's time to talk.
Yeah.
We're all in this.
And I know you're not able to tell your whole story, but stay tuned because one day there's going to be books and things. And, so it's not that because Jenna, I think all three of us are open books. But once, we're put on the spot like right now with the mics on, there's only so much that we can share right now because some of us are still like in it.
Oh, I'm
like in it.
Look,
like you're in the hole right now. So
you ever feel like you're in a pool and the water's like between your lips and your nose? That's my life right now.
Yeah.
And it's A-okay because my eyes are wide open and I'm seeing everything for what it is. I'm definitely taking, care of myself as well as you were saying, like going to see a professional. Call me out on what I can do because circle of control is the other thing that I think is a really good thing to focus on when you're in difficult times is this in my circle of control? Can I control the actions of somebody else? No. Can I control how I respond to it? Yes. So
I love that topic as well.
Yeah, I'm not pointing
Control.
fingers at anybody else anymore. My dad has this great saying, when you point a finger at someone, there's 3 more pointing back at you. Start with the 3 pointing back at you.
Yes.
Like you can't go around shaming other people when, I've contributed to that.
yeah.
But
Taking accountability
a huge one.
is wonderful.
teaching children to take accountability
Yes.
is amazing.
Yes.
And we had a podcast about that where Jaden was like, what I did was wrong. And, that was that fight or flight thing.
Yeah.
But hey, his father and his mother have a hard time taking accountability. So what are we going to teach them? We're going to teach them how not to be in that position, you would hope. How to go into an adult and saying, gosh, I really messed up and I hate that I hurt you and I'm going to do better. And they get to be better or worse or move along their way. But I want them to have blinders off. I want them to see it. I want them to be held accountable for what they cause. So,
Well, I know, Shiney, you wanted to share something. You were going to read something to us.
Yes.
What is that beautiful message you would like
Well,
to share?
it's not about the romantic love, if that's okay.
That's okay. We're all over the place. Romantic and parent, child, it's okay.
Okay. This is by Ravita. She's married to Jay Shetty. Do you know him?
Oh, Jay Shetty, yeah.
Yeah. He wrote Think Like a Monk.
No.
Well, they're a beautiful couple.
Okay.
She wrote this, and I love it. You do not belong to your parents. You are not owned by them or anyone else for that matter. We pass through our parents to enter this world, and will honor them in our lifetime based on the relationship built with them. You are not here to live out their dreams and goals. Your parents' expectations of who you should marry, when you should marry, what to study, where to study, are often modeled off their own thinking, prejudices, and internalized pressures. You are here to live your life. It is important to be guided by supportive caregivers when on this journey. You are not, however, here to live for them. You are not someone's property where you can be disowned for making an important choice about your own life. The only person that has to live with the decisions made will be you, not your parents and your caregivers. Choose wisely. I felt this was very strong. And I know it's strong.
Yeah.
And I know she was saying, when you extend compassion to your parents and caregivers, you're doing it because, same thing like I said before, it's doing it because it's on your heart and your willingness. Going back to, you remember I was telling you a story from before about Sally and Joe. Yes. and these people that I know. You know, Sally is a wonderful, warm, a mother type. You know, she's a very giving and loving, nurturing mother. But she put on all these expectations and conditions on her children of what they should do. And one of them was, as she gets older, they must take her in, take care of her. They must stay healthy so that they can take care of her. Like, they're not allowed, like she
actually said that.
Those were her words. Like, she had said, put that on them. Like, you must stay healthy so I can be taken care of. You must marry this type of person so that she will take care of me. Mm-hmm. Like, all these like expectations and things like that.
That's a lot of pressure.
So that's why I thought of this quote. So you know, in certain cultures that does happen. I know it doesn't happen in all. So that's why this quote, again,
it happens in more cultures than we.
I think everyone can identify to a certain degree. Oh, yours may be a 10 and mine may be a 2, but yeah, culturally, that's so a lot of pressure.
Because for me, I was very highly pressured on what I study, who I marry. That's very, very cultural, very cultural, and very normal. So I didn't, at the time,
didn't think much of it.
I didn't think much of it. Now, of course, you think, wow, that was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But am I going to do the same for my kids? No.
Yeah. Did you start out doing the same?
No.
So from the very beginning, you knew, I am not instilling this.
Yes, from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. What a great thing that is, to not have to undo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm undoing.
Yeah. So from the very beginning, in just little things, even like force feeding, which is, I know it sounds like a very weird thing, but in our culture,
I'm so about not force feeding either.
Yeah, because Latinas do it too, right?
Oh my gosh, eat everything on that effing plate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, but the white culture suffered from starving people in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Don't you know that there's starving people in Africa or Ethiopia?
If you're full, you're full.
Right.
That's it. To your period. Body. Yeah. No.
So I don't do that either because that's just not something I do where I chase them around with food or force them to clean their plate. Yep. So there are a lot of things that from the beginning I switched over, but but there's also a lot of things that are innate in me that that I don't even realize I'm doing, that we're taught saving food and not being wasteful, and that are good habits too. And also bad, you don't even recognize things that you do sometimes. Which is why what we talked about earlier is self-awareness. I say is an awakening. Like being self-aware is amazing.
It is amazing.
It's freedom for me. Like I feel to understand that my perspective is not the only perspective, and that I have the choice to change my ways, my thoughts, the way and like just yesterday I was telling my sister something, and she's like, "Oh, did you change your feelings on that?" And I immediately said what Bridget says. I said, "Feelings aren't facts. Yes, those were my feelings, but the fact is, this is how it is. So I think I need to adapt." So I love that I'm learning and growing. I don't like the aging thing so much, but I like this whole wisdom thing. I wish we had it in our 20s, but I guess it's how it is. And I would love to. I tell my kids all the time, please, take whatever I'm giving you. The quicker you learn it now, the better for your life. Yeah. I always tell them that. But I do try to pick up the better habits and try to unlearn the things that I was taught. But I also think maturity, and I really mean this, maturity is giving our parents, our parents' generation grace, because they were doing the best that they could and loving us the way that they knew.
Thought.
Yeah, they knew. And truly, it wasn't ill, mannered. It wasn't ill content. It wasn't. It was the best that they could do, and that's what they thought. They thought, it's my job to choose the best husband. It's my job to lead her down the best successful path for careers. It's my job to... So that's their way of showing love, and I may not agree with all their choices, but I give them grace.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's the whole, you don't, what is it? You do better when you know better.
Yes.
You're learning and you're knowing better, so you're going to do better. And that deserves all kinds of praise and respect, because they got you here to who you are today to do better, When you know better, you do better. That's what it is. Yeah.
I know now, I may have been put through conditions and all that, but I do know, I do still feel loved. I know that those were conditions put on me to be this and to be that. But I do know that at the heart of it, there was love, because part of it is cultural. There is that impact too from my family of, this is what they do. They do look for, what's the best for your children, their future, that they feel that that's their responsibility. And for them, that's love.
Yeah.
So, which is why I end that with grace and understanding. So.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And just to be, better. So
before, I've told this story before, but before my dad passed away, we had the year before, we just had this big, we never talked about feelings, and I just kept a lot of it to myself, and then I would explode, and that's how my feelings would come out, and not in a good way. So it would be out of nowhere, what is wrong with Lyanette? She's crazy, because it just, I just vomit everything. But one of the things that he told me, this was one of the deepest conversations I ever had with him, and I'm so appreciative that happened. But he said the way he showed his love, because he didn't have a father, he never knew his dad, and his mom worked a ton. She had 2 boys, him and my uncle. And his way of showing love was providing, because he grew up, in a very poor country, and it's he came to the U.S. and his mission was to provide for my family, to give them a beautiful home and good food and good travel. And he did provide all those things. And I remember telling him, I'm that was wonderful. And it was an epiphany for me, because he had never shared that. I just thought he was just busy working because he didn't want to be around us. And he never poured in the emotional side of things, which that's what I wish I had gotten from him. But it made me look at him like wow, this is a human being. Like before that, I'm like, he's just my dad and he's so tough and he's so this and blah, 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 you know, all the negative stuff. But that night I was just like, wow, like he's a human being. And this is what he thought love looked like. I'm going to provide things.
And he was successful at that.
He really, really was, because he came from literally nothing. And so going back to the whole grace thing, it's like I give that grace. Yes, I share stories of, oh, I wish this and I wish that. I just do it so that I give people examples of where I come from. But that was eye-opening for me. And you know, he apologized, and because he wanted to have that closeness as an adult. And I remember telling him, like, but you didn't even lay the foundation. As I was growing up, you never laid the foundation. And now all of a sudden, now you're ready. I'm like, I don't know what that looks like. So you're putting that burden on me to make this work when I don't even know where the instruction book is. Like, there was never anything, but now the burden is on me to call you more and to visit you more. And why aren't you doing this? And why aren't you doing that? And it's like, well, because you never really required, like you never even did that for me.
That was never your relationship with each other.
Yeah. And now that he was getting older, that's what he really craved from his children.
How hard that must have been, because that's what you wanted when you were younger.
Oh, yeah. And then now that I'm older, I'm expected to do all these things and getting kind of shamed for it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing these things and not realizing that you're causing me so much anxiety and I don't want to do these things because you're expecting them, but there was never a foundation laid down. And so I always said to myself, I'm going to do things differently. And like you said, Shiney, like there's certain things that are just ingrained in us. That poor Kaylin, we've had this conversation before. She got some of those things that I'm undoing now. Just being, for me, it was more like you need to be responsible and you have to get good grades. And I was very just kind of on that, like just be responsible, take ownership of yourself at a very young age, where it's like, just relax. I was so freaking tense all the time. And then more kids kept coming. I was just so tense. I'm like, calm your ass down. So I'm trying to undo that because she is so high anxiety because of those things. And now I'm trying to undo that and just let her, like, teach her, like,
but you're self-aware and you're doing it. And
yes.
You're doing it. And I said all those things that I had started young, but I'm also undoing something too. I wasn't raised with boundaries. I didn't even know what that word meant.
And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about boundaries.
And I'm teaching it now. I'm learning it, and I'm learning it for myself, and then I am teaching it to my children. Like the other night, to get my youngest to go to bed, all I had to say was the word boundaries. I was like, Dylan, boundaries. And then he went upstairs. He's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. That's all I need to hear.
I was like, okay.
So I wanted that to be a part of this conversation, boundaries. So I think that's a topic of like our society now, is like boundaries. What is that? What does it look like? What the hell is the boundary? Because I'm just learning that like yesterday. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago 24_7 and on Facebook at Virago 24/7, and just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.